plug and play. This is one of the most overused phrases ever in our day and age. The idea of ready-to-use technology that can just be powered on and used for whatever, whether it's a phone, game console, or even a computer or set-top box. We've all had that phrase thrown at us, only to bring the device home, plug, and get hit with a setup window before you can play. Sometimes you get hit with multiple setup windows and have to tell this device who you are, where you are, what the Wi-Fi password is. Before you know it, plug and play has disappeared from the scene, and in a rather messy way, I'm afraid. Technology death is a big thing, but it's all too often that a whole method becomes secondhand and then overburdened before something breaks. Could be I.O., could be personal preference. But today we've got a lineup of suspects to go through and a lot of history to cover. So I thought the concept of plug and play comes from the Jack-specific TV games era. However, the term dates back to further beyond just Jack and his specific AV cable boxes. The Sony MSX was the first home system with I.O. ports for expansions. It came to the customer already pre-set up with its own virtual address. Hence, when this thing kicked on, it wouldn't mess with a phone call in another room or fudge with the TV signal in the corner of this one. While impressive for the time, our main focus was the ease of use. The consumer was able to take the thing out of the box, plug it up to a TV, probably watch and listen to a boot sequence, and they're off to the Digiverse. This process would become the main standard for home consoles. In fact, it became expected. NewBus came out with a peripheral chip to work with both size Indian computer types. The Amiga had the Zorobus expansion line for the Commodore 64 computer, packaging config and boot drivers into a chip inside the peripheral itself. IBM decided, screw making the consumer do all the config, put every configuration on a floppy disk for true and literal plug and play. This boom for computers sadly hits a hard lock once we get to Windows 95, where the software itself would scan every single port, every single plug, and every single connector on your PC to detect, activate, and configure every device you have connected to it all at once. Yeah, as you could figure, it would crash a lot during that step.
What's this, what does this have to do with Jack-specific?
Jeez, it took you forever to ask. I've been sitting here talking about computers I haven't used since I was a toddler in preschool. So the first TV game ever was the TV Boy, which is a mid-Atari console with a bunch of Atari rips stuffed inside. It was kinda mid, but Jack-specific decided this was one of the greatest ideas ever and would dedicate a decade of their business lives adding to the e-waste that eats away at our planet and adorns our shelves. Also, Atari sent TV Boy a cease and desist. Before Jack, there was Activision, and then Atari decided to steal back their glory shortly. However, it was through two of the greats that Mr. Pacific decided to throw his joystick into the ring. That doesn't sound right. Pac-Man and Galaga. These were one of the first ones to start it all after it all got started. Radica, Activision, Atari, Jack-specific, Intellivision. Honestly, I only said that last one because I got that blue Intellivision controller and spent my 13th birthday playing games older than your grandma. Everyone has at least two of these things and always in a different design. From Spider-Man's head on a pike to SpongeBob pulling a Pinocchio. And a bunch of rather phallic or just nut-looking devices. These were true plug and play. Until they weren't. While the main draw came from parents or collectors seeing a controller shaped like the Millennium frickin' Falcon and remembering that they and or their youngling enjoy Star Wars. See what I did there? Once they got advanced enough, they too began to suffer from the third hidden P of plug and play. Pick. It became mandatory that these consoles have game lists in them, not just one game. All I'm saying is that Rocket Power's Downhill Jam was addictive AF, but I really want to beat the Fairly OddParents Channel Chasers game. I love that TV movie. Of course, these were the advertised budget versions of the box you could put under or next to your TV. Only these boxes would get comfy in your lap as you waggle their bits all around. A bygone era that's only used for reference nowadays. So alongside the budget fun memories we made as kids, there were also the more powerful machines the rents would low-key flex to their friends about getting their kids. Thinking about it super heavily, the concept of plug-and-play consoles kinda dies once the DS hits the scene, cause then even handhelds get a cute little menu to sort through. The GBA and its carts are like the last real plug-and-play I can think of, mostly because once the game was in, the console automatically ran it. You didn't have to decide to run it, you just powered it on, and that was the only decision you had. At max, you picked a language because you were in or happened to be lucky enough to obtain a PAL-reaching game. Hence, that version of me that speaks fluent French probably beat up a lot of French ghosts. Once we as game boys and girls grew into unisex gamers, we also were pitched the double-screen device that was meant to do away with the quickness of plug-and-play. Menu games and other things began to occupy and accompany the settings of the device itself. Aside from opening the settings to adjust them to your liking, one could hop into PictoChat for nearby comms with other DS users. It was pretty fun and gave way to becoming a built-in feature, way more grandiose than the send-off it got once the support for Street Pass ended. And then we have the Miiverse. Moving on. Once we started getting app games for handhelds, the plug-and-play era was done and dusted for them. DSiWare was just a heralding to the end of those TV systems. PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo alike all went from pop the top, slap the game in and off you go, to having stylish menus that oozed a bit of soul right out of the screen and onto your TV stand. I don't actually have to describe these menus, I can just put this animation in front of you and at some point you'll feel something based on these sounds and moving things that are just ripping childhood memories straight out of your forehead. They were a source of fun for tinkerers or the forgetful who didn't put a disc in. Or the data heavy if you're like me and have memories of regularly opening stuff from memcard 1 and copying it to memcard 2 so me and my brother could bring game saves to our uncle's PS2 and vice versa. These things required all the steps that made plug-and-play TV games such a popular alternative, to be honest. For PlayStation 5, you gotta bring this big home, undress her, grab her special display stand, otherwise she'll fall, hook that on, plug her up to power, the controller, and the TV. Then, after all this, you still gotta wait for the boot up, slot the disc in, wait for that to download the game, then any patches for it have to download. Finally, we can play the, oh wait, we forgot to update the console itself. Better wait for that to download before, what do you mean the update has to install into the game before you can play it? The game's already started. Oh yeah, this is an online game. Anyway, so I still need to close it back out, go back into the settings, and tell her the damn Wi-Fi password. Alright, enough game console talk. Let's dedicate a whole segment back to the tech itself. Instead of the home computer, let's look at hand computers. Your phone, hun. That you're watching me on. So back when I was in middle school, we saw the death of the flip phone, sidekick, and other keypad devices, even the BlackBerry. The rise of smartphones saw every single one of them hiding their keypads behind touchscreen. Yet as they became more advanced and the steps to use the phone became less and less, we never truly got to that plug-and-play aspect with smart tech, and possibly never will. Phones, watches, TVs, tabs, set-top boxes, a modem for Wi-Fi, routers, extenders, different connectors, Ethernet, coaxial, help I'm trying to get cables! A device and connector came out of the box. You plug and configure, then you play. One does not simply unbox a smart device nowadays. You gotta buy the proto, you gotta unbox the proto, you gotta peel the proto, then you gotta date the proto. Did I say proto? I meant TV. Yeah, I'm talking about your TV. Your TV practically comes down to you asking your name, Netflix account, favorite shows, drama, and aspirations for the future, your Wi-Fi password. Honestly, the idea of plug and play has become an advertising jargon only to be contested by tech workers like me. Because your phone ain't plug and play, and it never will be now that eSIMs are a thing. Skipping past the fact that you can transfer device tokens through the frickin' cloud now, along with your preferences, gotcha addictions, card info, money eaters, and spank bank. Even the phone number itself can no longer be plugged. It's all digital now. So that has to be transferred via your carrier. You know, me. SD cards aren't even plug and play. The systems that use them as consoles have to format them differently to computers. I have an Anbernic RG35XXSP and a computer to dump ROMs from the games in my Steam folders or house. but my PC is going to want to scan and format the card every time I plug it in, which I had to do to put the Anbernic backup files on it anyway, so if my PC formats it, I have to redo all that junk. Computers, phones, and TVs all basically exist under the same unbox me, dress me, date me umbrella. Sometimes realizing that the trio can convince you to hot swap between them on every app you have, as my brother's TV asks if I want to connect what I'm watching to his YT app instead of my phone or projector at least once a day. With all of that history and junk done, I figured now's the time to hop into the title of the video. The what done it? What did in plug and play for good? While there's a long list, this quick history lesson has narrowed down the suspect list heavily towards these perps. Suspecto. Options. Maybe there's just too many options for content and usage that one can't just open and use. Several streaming services are always constantly vying for your attention. Your YouTube has been giving you that weird look while you eat and whilst you shit. Meanwhile, Netflix is inviting you to bed and Hulu wants you to come cuddle on the couch. This is ignoring your secret affair with the less legal, more spam-logged side of the streaming world, since there are all those old shows that you care about but big companies don't. Next, there are all the non-moving webcomics that you read and check in on daily so as to claim you read ebooks. Then there's all the ebooks that you listen to while doing chores to claim you read real books, your various gaming apps that take hours of your time and sometimes bill sums of your money from you and your pockets. I barely mean options as choices. I mean options as in the setting on your phone too, the settings on your phone. You could have a specific preference for each of the chat apps you're in, different messaging apps to suit weeby preferences and nerdy ones too. Do you use Google Suite because it was made for tablets and phones first, or have you stuck to using the Microsoft Suite because they eventually compacted computer apps into the tablet too? Which music app do you use? Where's your X button? Power-wielding Pokemon and Digimon or gun-toting pals and waifus? What's your ringtone gonna be? What's your screensaver? What's your wallpaper? What's the Wi-Fi password? Suspect T. Time. With the advancements of time, we started to cram more and more and more onto the phone until the thing practically became a flat computer. Our Black Mirrors can conduct calls, play games, record voicemail, send text, receive text, compile music, record notes, keep checklists, summon strangers, summon friends, summon emergency services, and yes, Machete, they even tell time. Phones are able to double as a thumb-friendly keyboard or boardroom PowerPoint clicker while connected to a computer via Bluetooth. Speaking of Bluetooth, you can transfer files as small as a 1-minute song or file that's been completely ruined by YouTube and TikTok's moderation bots to something unnecessarily massive as the collective bin and queue files of Neversoft Spiderman. Okay, that's not that big actually, but it proves my point. Most things you can do on a computer, you can also now do on a phone. Hence why people have been big into emulating on these things too. You used to have to use a phone as a secondarily connected device that's constantly connected to the same Wi-Fi as your PC and has all the same logins for the apps you use. However, now your phone can be the center point of that hub, and your computer, watch, tablet, ring, and at one point your freaking glasses all have to listen to what your phone tells them to do from what you tell your phone to tell them to do. That's confusing. Each of these devices all need to be fully stocked with whatever iterations of whatever important apps you needed to use on them. Suspect you, upgrades, people, upgrades.
That's how we make the dough.
After a certain time, all of these things became kind of standard for one to just always have with them. Hence why upgrades have forced this increasingly lengthened setup on devices. What's the point of having your phone connect to your car if you can't control your music and take calls without taking your eyes off the road? What's the point of having a fancy Bluetooth hat if it doesn't have skip and pause buttons that double as hang up, hold, and answer? Our devices need to be an interconnected web of literal things that's constantly listening for each other and other times listening for our voice commands. All of the different services we use are just like your devices, constantly checking for passwords and tokens attached to said devices. Sometimes scanning for ads and other things that it's meant to show you on startup. All of your settings and app preferences, and even the tokens for your secondarily connected devices can be transferred to a new device via NFC or near-field communications. Practically cloning your device to a new device once you fill up the storage or decide to fill your charge port with water and shove a charge cord into it. Honestly, now working at a tech store, I realize that phones need that last one explicitly because of how people sometimes lose track of their phones until it's too late. Either they don't pay attention to it even when it warns them that what they're doing is incredibly stupid. In conclusion, no device that you can get in this day and age will ever truly be plug and play. There's too many settings, preferences, connections, security, etc. that just go into setting one of these things up. Even for something as simple as an emulator, you need to configure the program to preferences on the box that you stored the ROMs on. Before that, you need ROMs to dump onto the damn thing. Just like with other consoles, you need media to use on them and preferences to how you consume that media. This is separate from the connections I mentioned a moment ago, BT dubs. Connections that could require all manner of security codes and PIN numbers that one has to write down and type away into their notes lest they get locked out of their house during a party and now have to invite a digital locksmith to invite them back into their own abode. Well, that ends my little rant about the death of plug and play as a concept. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and until whenever I post next...
Seriously, whose PC do you gotta hump around here to get the damn Wi-Fi password?